Hey everyone's Jackal Wolf back in SkyFactory 4 with another 5 things video. This episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explore the 5 most complicated or most difficult advancements in SkyFactory 4. So these are not going to be the advancements where you've got to collect like 18 billion of something. You know, those are complicated in that they just take a long time to set up and a long time to wait for them to complete. I'm not considering those complicated. These are ones that are JEI rabbit holes, or they're poorly explained, or maybe not, the most obvious solutions to these quests. So that is my criteria here for picking these top 5. And you know what? Let me know in the comments below if you think there is a different one that is more complicated than one of the 5 that I've got here. Some of these are luck-based advancements as well. There's a couple in here I would definitely consider that, things that if you are lucky, it could be super simple, but if you are unlucky, it could be super, super difficult. So here we are, the top 5 most complicated or difficult advancements in SkyFactory 4. Number 5. So guys, the number 5 most difficult advancement is I'm going to say it's a little bit of a stretch. 1 to 4 were really, really easy for me to pick. There's some really, really big rabbit holes. This one's more of an annoyance, something that, the advancement book doesn't really show it properly. So I can't show you in this world because it is completed here, but we're going to pop over to a different world really quickly and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay guys, so this is a little bit of a sneak peek to my Prestige Run Season 3 world. I've come over here because I know I have not completed this quest yet, and it's still available to be looked at in the advancement book. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to that Age of Farming Advancement tab. Under the animal croppings, there is the mini ghast seed. Now you kind of zoom in there, and it very distinctly says mini ghast seed. But if we go into our JEI and we type in mini, there's the Carmenite ghastling seeds, but there's nothing in here that says mini ghast seeds. So this is difficult in the fact that the advancement book really, really should call these that Carmenite ghastling seed, not a mini ghast seed. That is a potential rabbit hole where you could be going down looking for these mini ghast seeds and not finding them anywhere. So that is the number 5 hardest advancement in SkyFactory 4. Number 4. All right, guys, so the 4th most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4, back on the Age of Farming tab, we've got Swab the Deck, Feed the Chickens, and Egg Hunt. Now, I'm considering these as one advancement because really they are all to be taken together. We got to swab the DNA, we've got to feed the chickens, and then we get our little egg hunt at the end. The reason that this one is super, super difficult is fairly similar to the last one. It's that the JEI does not do a very, very good job of explaining what you need to do. So if we go into the feed, we can see here's that GM chicken feed that we need to make, but there's no recipe for it. It doesn't actually show you how to do it. To figure out how to do it, you got to go into your advancement book and then hover over each one of these and actually read the description very, very well. So swab the deck, use on any mob to swab their DNA. That is super, super straightforward. I have got a swab right here, ready to go. All we need is a mob for some DNA. So for that, I've got a villager right here. Shift click, because he's a villager, you open him up otherwise, so you got to shift click him. If it was a regular mob, you could just right click them and it'll be fine. So we got some villager DNA. Open up the advancement book again. Craft the chicken feed from seeds, a swab with DNA, and a bucket of experience. So we've got our bucket of experience, we've got our seeds, we've got our mob swab. There's the GM chicken seeds. So that is how you craft these guys up. The next step, we got to go open up our advancement book again, feed an adult chicken a bag of chicken feed and collect its spawn. So what I got here is I got some chickens ready to go. I got some seeds, and we're just going to go and speed these guys' growth up just a little bit here. All right, so we're down to about 5 seconds here. That's absolutely perfect. Despite being one of the toughest advancements in SkyFactory 4, this is probably one of my favorite ones, simply because of what happens next. That makes me laugh every single time. But what we get at the end is our villager spawn egg. If we had swabbed like a skeleton or a horse or a cat or whatever, that's a spawn egg we would have got. So we can come up here. I don't want this villager running around, so we're just going to go place him there. But there you go. The GM chicken feed is the number 4 most difficult or hardest advancement in SkyFactory 4. Number 3. Okay, guys, so the number 3 hardest advancement in SkyFactory 4, back into the age of farming, under all of the trees. Now, you can't see them here. I'm not going to bother going into another world because, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. But the 2 hardest saplings to get in SkyFactory 4 are the ardite sapling and the cobalt sapling. Now, if you are very, very lucky, when you go to your nether, you can find ardite or you can find cobalt just sort of lying around in the nether. It's not 100%. We've proven that twice in Prestige Run, that not every nether is going to have it. If you don't have it, you've got to go to manually crafting these saplings. So ardite is the first one you got to craft because you actually need a little bit of ardite for the cobalt. But to do the ardite, you got to get yourself a nether star. That in itself is a little bit difficult because you got to get your wither skull heads from the nether, from your wither skeletons, and then you got to craft a wither and fight it and get your nether star. Not super difficult, but still pretty difficult. You've also got to get your pristine blaze matter. That means, leveling up a deep mob learner to high enough level that you can, manufacture some or fight enough blazes to get a pristine blaze matter drop. But even harder is your cobalt sapling. That is because it requires a pristine wither matter to craft. Pristine wither matter, you got to level up a deep mob learner with wither kills to the point where you can manufacture it, or you get lucky fighting the wither and you'll actually get a drop of this pristine wither matter. It's not super common, but it is possible. I've got lucky in the second series of Prestige Run that it actually dropped for me. But the first one, I think I actually had to manufacture it using the loot fabricator, which takes, you got to fight a lot of withers to get up to that point. And, there are things that can help you do it. You've got your witherproof glass. You've got your glitch armor, which goes a long ways. Creative Flight goes a long ways to help you fight stuff like the wither, but very difficult. I highly recommend you check your nether first. If you can't find ardite and cobalt in your nether, though, you're going to have to go down this rabbit hole and, craft them manually, which they are by and far the most difficult of the saplings to craft manually. Number 2. Okay, guys, so we are down to the number 2 most difficult or complicated advancement in SkyFactory 4. This one is a little bit of a rabbit hole. If you don't know how to do it, it can be very difficult to figure out the best way of accomplishing it. For this list, the number 2 most difficult advancement, in my opinion, is the Ender Seeds. Now, these are difficult because you require Ender Pearls. One of the best ways to get Ender Pearls is with Ender Seeds. Other ways to get Ender Pearls include manufacturing them with extraterrestrial matter. That means going down the deep mob learning path. You could also go down the path with the Ender Hog. The problem with the Ender Hog, to make your bucket of mud, you need a Ender Carrot, which means you need an Eye of Ender. So what I'm getting at is the only way to make the Ender Seeds all require that you already have Ender Pearls in your inventory. I'm going to say about 95% of the items in SkyFactory 4, if you don't have them, there's a way to craft them from lesser materials. This is one of the ones that you absolutely have to have them in your inventory before you can actually craft a thing to make more of them. Now, the main or the best way of collecting Ender Pearls earlier on is to fight Endermen. And, if you're lucky, your world type will have Endermen spawning around you, or maybe if you're unlucky, it depends on really how you want to look at it. That is a totally legitimate way. I think Season 2 Prestige Run, that's what we did, is we had a bunch of Endermen just spawning around our base, and that's what we went and we hunted them. If you don't have Endermen around your base, your best bet is to actually craft them. Now, crafting Enderman in and of themselves is not super, super difficult. You know, it's a pumpkin, some blaze powder, purple dye is not too difficult, obsidian is not too difficult. Where you run into a problem, again, we're down the rabbit hole, is the end stone. So short of going to the end and gathering end stone, which is its own, another rabbit hole again, you can craft it using lava and glowstone, but that requires you having a glowstone sapling, and a glowstone sapling is not, again, the easiest thing to get. You need your redstone, you need your mineral berries, you need quartz. Quartz is a difficult sapling to get. It's not as tough as the, ardite and cobalt, but you have to have quartz to start off with. You have to have some netherrack, magma slimy crystal. You need your soul sand, from that, some magma creams. Not the easiest path to take. So there are multiple different ways of getting the ender pearls required for the ender seeds. All of them are difficult. All of them are dangerous. All of them are difficult. That is why this is the number 2 most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4. Number 1. Okay, guys, so we are here. We are finally at the number 1 most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4. This is something that I've picked, and this was the easiest one to pick, is the most difficult one. It's something I've talked about quite a bit, on streams, in videos, on my Discord page and that, as being probably the most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4. So before I get on with that, though, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you are enjoying this series, which is the 5 Things series. This is my 3rd episode for SkyFactory 4, 5 Things. If you are, please think about leaving a like and a subscribe. Let me know that you guys enjoy this style of videos. It's good at, cause me to create more of them. And I got a few other ideas that I'm, kicking around in my head, of 5 more things about SkyFactory 4 that, I think would be really, really interesting to do. So let me know down below. Let me know in my Discord. Let me know on my Twitter, that these are, videos that you guys want to see. But without further ado, though, let's get to the number 1 most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4. To get to that, we're going to go open up our advancement book, and that is, again, on the age of farming. All 5 of the most difficult advancements in SkyFactory 4 are on the age of farming. You can make some arguments about some of these, all of the things OMG, LOL, being the most difficult. Most of these are difficult simply because they require you to get a stupid amount of resources to do them. The actual tasks themselves are not, like the cookie clicker requires like a couple, like million cookies, but really they're just cookies. Once you start making cookies, you're just waiting for the end of them. So that's one of the reasons I don't consider these the difficult ones. I mean, they are complicated, they are time consuming, but they are not what I would consider a difficult advancement. The difficult advancements are ones that require you to either go down rabbit holes or that leave you kind of scratching your head. It's like saying, well, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working? And that's why the number 1 most difficult advancement in SkyFactory 4 is got to be the mulches. Now, the hardest ones, in my opinion, are the red mulch and the ruby mulch. These 2 are actually harder to get than the black mulch and the blue mulch, but we're going to go through all of them because, again, they are sort of steps along the path to get to that blue mulch, and they're sort of to be taken as a whole. To start, your very, very first one that you start with is your fertile dirt. Super simple. You can do this with pretty much day 1 in any world. Dirt, bone meal, bang, you get your fertile soil. Super, super simple. Next up, you got your brown mulch, cocoa beans, and 4 sticks. I mean, you can't get easier than that. Not a problem, but you do need the brown mulch to go up to the yellow mulch. Yellow mulch is just brown mulch and 4 biofuel. Biofuel is not super, super difficult to make. Basically, you get a crusher and anything really organic, well, maybe not anything, but a lot of organic stuff. Saplings are something you're going to have an absolute ton of. In a crusher will get you the biofuel. Super, super straightforward. Next up is where we start to get a little bit more complicated. The amber mulch is the yellow mulch, biofuel, and substrate. Now, substrate is where we start getting into the rabbithole-ish-ness of the mulches. So to make substrate, you're going to need a PRC. In the PRC, you're going to need water, which is very, very simple, but you're also going to need some hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is your electrolytic separator. You got your water, that gets you your hydrogen and your oxygen as sort of byproducts. Both of these are things you're going to need further down this rabbit hole. As well, though, you're going to need the biofuel. All of these three things together in a PRC is going to make you your substrate. So difficult, but not as tough as it does get. Next up is the ruby mulch. To make the ruby mulch, you're going to need a amber mulch and 4 fertilizer. This is actually not too difficult. The fertilizer is something that you basically craft from a sewage composter, and it just makes fertilizer. Now, the sewage composter just takes liquid fluid sewage and converts it into fertilizer. I mean, it's not super complicated science or anything like that, but there you go. 1 bucket makes 1 piece of fertilizer. Basically, how you get your fertilizer is you've got your animals, and you just need a animal sewer in a close proximity to your animals, and it will collect that liquid fluid sewage for you. And then you just got to go and take a bunch of buckets, and then you could just go pump these guys in there, and it'll just convert these things into the fertilizer. So next up is where we really start to get complicated. That is the red mulch. Now, the red mulch is the ruby mulch from previous. 2 substrate and 2 HDPE pellets. HDPE pellets are where we start to get really complicated. To make them, we need to use the PRC again, but instead of water and hydrogen, we've got to use the liquid ethylene and oxygen, and then a substrate will make the HDPE pellet. So the liquid ethylene is something we get from regular ethylene in a rotary condensator. Condensator, however you want to pronounce that. I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. Ethylene is the byproduct you get from making your substrate. So if you have substrate, you should have some ethylene already. Problem is you've got to process it up using your rotary condensator to get it up to that liquid ethylene. The other thing that you need is oxygen. Now, oxygen was that other byproduct of the water in the electrolytic separator where we were getting our hydrogen, and then the other thing we got was our oxygen. So again, using those 2 things and the substrate, that will get you your HDPE pellet in your PRC. Now, the hardest thing is moving these liquids around. If you're trying to automate it, your best bet is using like your pressurized tubes, but you got to keep in mind which ones are fluids and which ones are gases. And that's where this gets really complicated, because the ethylene is actually a gas. So ethylene is actually a gas. It doesn't say it in here, but it is actually a gas. When you condense it, it becomes a liquid. So you'll put it into a machine using a gas pipe, and then you got to take it out using a liquid pipe. It's something you got to keep in mind if you're having trouble with it. The other thing is that if you've only got 1 PRC and you've got like a tank, like see, this tank looks like it's empty, but as soon as I hover over it, it's got 100 oxygen in it. So if I was to put something different in here and get all my recipe over here, right? This 100 oxygen will stop it from making this recipe unless this recipe also put out oxygen as a byproduct. If it doesn't, this is going to block it. And it's the same thing over here. You might be trying to fill one of these guys up with resource, and it could have like 1 millibucket of something in there. That's going to stop you putting something new in there 100% of the time. Super frustrating. What you can do, though, is get yourself a gauge dropper. Basically, we've got 100% oxygen in here. I'm going to right click it. It is now empty, and I've got a gauge dropper of 100 oxygen. I can go put this into, see, we got oxygen here. I can go, I actually sucked it up. We can go right click on it, and we've put that oxygen all the way back up into there. So nice way of cleaning out your pipes and stuff like that. And you can actually use this to move stuff around. Fairly simple, because it will do gases, it will do liquids. It's only just like a bucket at a time. So very slow, but if you're only making a little bit, this might be better than fighting with the pipes and stuff like that. So that is the red mulch. That is probably the hardest of the mulches, mainly because you've got to make these HDPE pellets, and it is very, very confusing. I know I've done a video on it, but it's still probably one of the most asked questions, at least things that people have the biggest problem is figuring out these, pressurized reaction chambers and the rotary condensator. Definitely the most difficult of the mulches. The next one up, though, is the black mulch. This one is difficult, but only because you need more HDPE. If you're already making HDPE, it's not such a big deal, but to make your black mulches, you need the HDPE sheets, which are 8 HDPE pellets, and the HDPE rod, which is 4 HDPE pellets. So once you got this figured out, next step is not that difficult. These are just crafted items using stuff that you already got. That gets you the black mulch. I'm actually going to take this one out of the crafting table because the very, very final mulch is the blue mulch. This is by and far the best mulch. I highly recommend it. If you can sit through all of the mulches, this blue mulch is definitely going to be your top end mulch. To do it though, you just need some wither dust. Chances are you fought a couple of withers and this is just a natural drop, and some blue slime crystals, which are not very, very difficult to make. Just blue slime balls, sand, and dirt. And the blue slime balls are just the ones you get from your blue congealed slime blocks. And that's just the blue slimy sapling. So not a very, very difficult one at all to get. Realistically, probably your wither dust is your toughest thing. But if you fought any withers at all, there's a good chance you've got a little bit of it. Those are the 5 most difficult advancements in SkyFactory 4. So just to recap really, really quickly, we had the mini ghast seeds, which aren't actually called mini ghast seeds. They're the carbonite ghast seeds. There is the GM feed, which is difficult mainly because the JEI doesn't really explain it very well. Then there was the Cobalt sapling and the ardite sapling, which are right behind us. If you are lucky, you can find cobalt and ardite in your nether. Not difficult. You do need a cobalt level pick to mine it, but any pick with an obsidian head will do that for you. So that is not very, very difficult at all. Then we've got the ender pearls or the ender lilies. You need ender pearls to make ender lilies, and ender lilies are one of the best ways to get ender pearls. So a little bit of a circular logic rabbit hole there, but there is a way of getting it. You can craft yourself your own endermen, or you can go out and find them in your world and fight them that way. Other than that, there's not a really good way of getting ender pearls in your world. And then finally, it is the mulches. Specifically, that red mulch is definitely, by and far the most difficult of the advancements in SkyFactory 4. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video. Let me also know if you think there are other more difficult advancements. Again, I'm not including advancements that are time-consuming advancements, ones that basically you got to collect 1 billion of one things. Like, I don't consider that difficult. It's just annoying. I'm not a big fan of those advancements. You probably heard me, complain about them more than once. But anything else that, is not fully explained, not easy to do, things that, require you to do multiple steps beforehand, a whole rabbit hole of to-do lists just to get to your final output. Those are the type of quests that I'm talking about. But let me know if you think there's any that I missed, or, if you agree with some of the ones that I've listed here. But you know what? That's going to be it. So leave a like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at Jackal Wolf. Also, check out the description below. There'll be a link to my Discord page. I would love it if you guys stop by to say hi. As well, there'll be a link to my Patreon page. If you enjoy this channel, if you enjoy this content you want to support, stop by, check it out. There are a lot of great perks out there for all of my supporters. But that is it. I'll see you guys next time. Good.